Hello, hello, everybody. How you doing? Waited a little longer to start this time, so we're gonna start out with little Stacy. So here we go. Enjoy.
How do you pay a debt with someone you owe 36 million? You don't. It might as well be a bajillion. Oh, this is what you do. You charge the one you owe with murder. The debt goes to. Now first, you gotta have a body. I don't know how you get it, but I know it is nutty. Find that car that body drove. Park the car in the yard, throw the body in the stove. Now this part, overemphasize I can. You got to have law enforcement that likes to plan. Oh, I mean not botany, talking bone, blood, bullets, a car and a key. How do you pay a bill for someone you owe 36 million? You don't, it might as well be a gajillion. Oh, this is what you do. You charge the one you owe with murder. The debt goes to. Now you cook that body up, all well done. Just leave some pieces out for identification. Like a tibia, zip 2308. Some of you ain't following me. But this brings me to the important part of the scheme. You got to have the lab and forensics team. Pick one out, the dullest knife. Get her to deviate from protocol first time in her life. How do you pay a bill for someone you owe 36 million? You don't, it might as well be a gajillion. Oh, this is what you do. You charge the one you owe with murder. The debt goes to.
I'm gonna be playing too, folks.
Now I can't go into detail. It would take too long. This would end up being a 10-part, a docu-song. So I'll just give it to you. Go in point form. Do all these things and you can do your own. You first have to get a kid to confess to the story you feed them. Block all the officers from following evidence where it leads them. Tell the media things that don't make sense. Don't worry, they don't ask questions, they just nod their heads. You gotta lock the coroner from the scene. You got to beware now, dogs that are mean. Lose all the cameras, don't take a shot. Multi-label everything you got. You gotta keep all the evidence locked up safe. If anything gets broken, fix it with scotch tape. Then repeat. The phones are intertwined. The wires from the ties, yeah, repeat that lie. How do you pay a bill for someone you owe 36 million? You don't, it might as well be a gajillion. Oh, this is what you do. You charge the one you owe with murder. The debt goes to. Now say you get away with all this stuff, but 10 years later you just don't have enough. Go write a book, try to cash in, don't worry about the ethics.
There's none in Wisconsin.
Cause if there are, you would have been jailed and sued from all the domestic violence victims that you abuse. How do you pay a bill for someone you owe 36 million? You don't, it might as well be a gazillion. Oh, this is what you did. You framed an innocent man and his nephew kid. Listen to me, now here I go again, to confine innocent men in a 10 by 10 fates. Oh, now the men deserve. But fear breeds silence in men at the walk. You don't say nothing cause you know you're cops, but someone knows something, yet everyone plays ball. I say we round them all up, let's brain fingerprint them all. Everything about the case was suspicious. I hope the biting teeth of justice is so vicious. For those who bred the lie, they temporarily preserve. From time into Tybos to Brendan's so-called confession, to the fact that Peterson was out of town when she went missing. How can we forget Andy, Sam, William, Henry Cole? I say we round them all up, let's brain fingerprint them all. So much planted evidence now anyone can see. The magic bullet and blood in the RAV, and even evidence that defies gravity. The key that turned up 7 searches later with none of her DNA at all. Let's brain fingerprint them all. I say we round them all up, let's brain fingerprint them all. Who's pulling strings? I want to know their top ranks. For those who paid attention, know the arm bank stank. And those that are smiling, they always know who would take the fall. I say we round them all up, let's brain fingerprint them all. I say we round them all up, let's brain fingerprint them all.
Love it, Stacy. Love it, man. Stacy is the man, folks. All right. Let's turn the camera on for you. Hello, there I am. All right. So, today we're just going to be basically sitting back and chatting, really. Not too much too heavy, but Mr. The Hodd will be joining us at some point, and he will have some interesting things to say, I think. Oh, wow. I didn't manage to get that refilled. I was too busy getting a tweet out because a lot of people aren't subscribed to this channel and aren't going to get a notification that we're going live over here. So, went ahead and made a tweet about it real quick. I saw when Sandy posted the pictures of the first visit, her and Kayla and Mama Avery Dolores went for the visit. I saw the pictures that Sandra posted of that, and Mark was actually still on his way home from Sandra's to his hotel room, and so he didn't know like that had been posted. So I was on her post like saying, "Oh, he's a great guy. Couldn't have been a greater guy, to get in there to make it onto Steven's visitors list and everything." And so Sandra and I had like a long 11 reply thread on that post. It was funny, and we were just talking and making jokes and stuff. It was hilarious. But yeah. But today, I think everybody saw it before me because I was running around like crazy, getting the last things in order. I mean, I'm taking more than I need on Monday. I'm just just taking more than I need. I mean, you know, I mean, I have IDs, actual government issued IDs from the state that I live in, basically dating back 14 years with my name as it appears on my United States passport application. So I have that. So it's, you know, I get what this is all about. They're trying to make sure that I am not trying to pull some shenanigans and change my name or do something by using the United States passport system or something like that. I guess, you know, I get it. There's a reason why they have to make so absolutely certain. And I get it. They're having trouble reconciling something. So hopefully by going down in person, and I'll have enough, you know, different kind of things to prove exactly what's going on. So I'm feeling good about it. But today I went to go get yet another piece of, you know, of the puzzle, essentially, to help me put it all together on Monday from my brother. You know, so there's a statement from my brother. We had a little issue where the place where we were meeting up was a bit windy, and like just like imagine just like Abbott Costello, the Three Stooges. I mean, it's just unreal. Before I got there, a gust of wind came and blew a couple of the pieces of paper out of my brother's window of his car. And by the time he realized it, they had blown so far away he couldn't find them. And oh my God, it was something else. It was something else, folks. I was just like, holy crap. So I'm almost to the destination where we're meeting up, and he's like messaging me, telling me, I'm going back home right now to see if I left him there. I don't know what happened or whatever, right? Because he couldn't find what happened. So I was like, hold on, dude, I'm here. I'm here. Just hold on. So he was like, actually, you know, was back on the freeway. So he managed to get off, come back or whatever. So by the time he pulled up, I'd already found one piece of paper. All I did was get out of my car and have my hat nearly blow off of my head. And I was like, okay, I know which way I'm going to walk. And immediately started walking in the direction that my hat wanted to fly off of my head. And when I walked in that direction, I found a chain link fence where there was a corner, and walked immediately to that corner where the wind would have blown a piece of paper, and found one of the documents, you know, of the two. There was two that had blown away. Found one, and so immediately was messaging him, said I found one, as he was like basically pulling up, and he's like, oh my God, you found one? And I'm like, yeah. So we ended up looking around, and we couldn't find the other one. It was getting pretty crazy because it's a pretty important document. It was something that my mom had of mine that was from when I was basically born, and it's like the original, and and we couldn't find it anywhere. Dude, it was trying, to say the least. Well, it just so happened right next to where he would have pulled up, there was a storm drain in the curb, basically. You know, there's like it's just like a thing in the curb where it opens up to where water can drain in to help prevent flooding and that sort of stuff, right? So there's like a little storm drain right there. And I thought, you know what? Might have blown down there. And I mean, it was literally as I was leaving, it was the last thought I had as I was about ready to leave and head back here to do the live that I did over on my other channel. And I thought, you know what? Let me just look right there. And I looked in there, and lo and behold, there it was. It was right there. In fact, you know, oh man. So then I had to figure out how to get it out, right? I was already running a little bit late, and I was like, oh man, now I got to figure out how to get this thing. I got to figure out how to fish this thing out of the storm drain, right? Hi, Kimberly. You're so welcome. Thank you for this. Thank you, Charlotte, for all those well wishes and everything. So anyways, how am I going to get this thing out? So I drive down, get some gum, which I don't usually get. I used to like, you know, chew gum, but not so much anymore. Anyway, went down, got some gum, couple pieces in my mouth, chewed it up, got it, to where it was nice and gooey, sticky, whatever. Put it on the end of a stick, and basically reached down and just got it with the piece of gum, literally a stick and a piece of gum, and pulled it up out of there, and there we go. I was suddenly like going from just being devastated, thinking, oh my God, where the heck did that thing go, to having it and now knowing where it was. And I have been having a hell of a week. It has been a hell of a week. In fact, with that, I think I'm going to have a Dos Equis. There you go. Better? Anyway. I don't always drink beer. All right, so what's going on in the chat here? Say hello to me so I know that I'm in the correct live video. Hi, Kimberly Harrison. This is Erekose, but this is my other channel. So my kind of my alternate channel, as it were. When the topic is not strictly Stephen Avery, Brendan Dassey, criminal justice related, we come over here because we understand that the Erekose on Making a Murderer channel needs to be really focused on what it's focused on. And so we bring the kind of like fun stuff or, less serious stuff and all that over onto this channel. And so that's what's going on here. So I hope that explains. And so there we go. You're very welcome. I don't always drink beer, right? But when I do, it's with Erekose on Doctor Who. Woohoo! Thank you guys. Thank you. So here you go. Ready, guys? Ready? Linda, you got your Jello shot ready? Okay. Clink. Love it. Doctor Who Hall. Yeah, well, I do love Doctor Who, folks. I am a huge, kind of am, I don't know. I'm not so much right now. I'm really just disappointed with the way that they are just like completely changing Doctor Who, changing what it is, changing a lot, changing so much of it. Doctor Who was always a show that had a difficult concept for people to kind of grasp and get their head around to begin with. And the kind of things they're doing now are taking those difficulties to a whole new level. Which is fine right now while it's crazy popular, because there's a bunch of people out there talking about it and creating a community where, it's pretty much well understood and people can find a place to find out what it is and that sort of thing, right? But back when, for fans like me, and I intend to talk with Pom Pom's son at some point. We intend to have a video here where him and I talk, maybe on a live or maybe something we pre-record. I don't know, but he's all into Doctor Who, and he's like thinking that this new direction of Doctor Who is great. So we're looking to get together and argue our viewpoints. And I'm probably going to end up watching this most current season of Doctor Who, just so him and I can do an episode by episode, talk about each one or something like that. Anyway, that's what we're planning to do, because I am a Doctor Who geek. I love Doctor Who, but I have issues with what they're trying to do right now. And I mean, like I said, they're just making it so much more difficult in a lot of ways. But back when I was, a Doctor Who fan, Doctor Who had been canceled. It was canceled back in the late 80s. And when I got into it, it was like in the late 90s when I got into Doctor Who. And so it wasn't very popular. So when I would try to talk about it with people and try to explain to them that the Doctor regenerates and he has 12 regenerations, which means 13 different Doctors essentially. And, when you try to explain these things to some people, Like, especially if they weren't really sci-fi inclined, they would just shut off and turn off and just, nod their head, right? Because, the show was a difficult kind of concept and people didn't understand like how it could work if the main character changed a lot and like obviously and like became a physically different person yet the same. Like people would just not understand how that could be. So, anyways, I'm looking forward to having a chat with Julie's son, Pom Pom's son, and we'll chat about Doctor Who and the direction it's taken. And like I said, I'll go ahead and watch the most current season, and after each episode, him and I'll do a little commentary where I'll say what I got to say, and we'll see what he has to say, and and it'll be basically new school versus old school. I'll be old school. Pom Pom's son will be new school. Oh, so they still haven't done it? Yeah. Well, I hope they're thinking real hard about what they're doing over there, because I'm personally just thinking it's a bad idea. There's so much other cool things they could have done besides what they're doing. Things that could have been so cool, so awesome, that could have brought back awesome time ladies from the original, run of the series. They could have brought back Romana, who would have been like a companion and an ally to the Doctor, or they could have maybe brought her back, but have her in a later regeneration where maybe she's got a little bit of a dark streak. It's possible. That can happen with regenerations. And I'm sorry for all of you who came here for true crime and hearing me talk about Doctor Who. But anyway, it's possible for that to happen. So they could have brought back Romana and had her be like mostly a good person, but like have some like dark streak running through her, and that could have been an interesting facet they do. Or they could have brought back the Ronnie. The Ronnie is another Time Lord, basically kind of another villain that the Doctor faced back in the original series. And I always loved the Ronnie. The Ronnie was awesome. The best villain, awesome, one of the best villains ever in Doctor Who. And then when they brought back Missy in the recent show or whatever, and I just thought, oh, come on, that should be the Ronnie right there. That should totally be the Ronnie. And you know why? Because the actress that played the Ronnie, she was a very famous actress. Her name was Julie something. I can't remember now. Dang it. I can't remember now. But she used to be like on, I think, The Young and the Restless or some late night soap opera. Maybe Dallas. It might have been Dallas. Anyway, she was very popular from that and everything. Anyway, she had died right around the time they were bringing out this whole Missy timeline and everything like that. And I was just like, oh, that's the perfect opportunity to bring back Ronnie, especially with the way it was all scientific with what they did, she was doing with the Cybermen, with the, that was, very Ronnie-esque in my mind as well. So I was very disappointed, really, in a lot of ways with the current decision making over there, where it seems less about what's good for Doctor Who and more about, I don't know, social political kind of agendas or something. It's strange to me, but I think they should have paid tribute to the actress that played the Ronnie, and they should have reintroduced Missy as the Ronnie, in my opinion. That's my opinion. They didn't do that. Then they're going on even further. They're telling everybody that Time Lords change their gender when they regenerate. Never happened. Never, ever happened up until now. So now it's like this new facet. Like it's this new thing that Time Lords can do. They've been talking about how this is, that Time Lords can do this and that it's happened or whatever, but it never has. They're lying because they know that the new school won't care or won't question, basically. And they're basically of an attitude of, yeah, well, whatever, old school, deal with it. And that kind of seems like their attitude. So it'll be interesting to have a chat with Cody, and it will be interesting to have a chat with him and hear his views. So anyways, I thought Missy was cool. I liked Missy. I liked it I even liked Capaldi, dude. When everybody else was getting depressed, that like they were bringing in Capaldi, who was like this angry, grumpy, doctor. I loved it. I loved it. I'm an old Who person. Okay, I'm old. I'm into the old Who, and the Doctor was like that a lot. Very kind of grumpy and gruff, and not always forthcoming, and that sort of thing. Like Capaldi. So I thought Capaldi was great because it was kind of like. Anyways, that's the way I felt. So yeah, and I thought Missy was great, a cool character. Had she been the Ronnie instead of the Master, regenerated as a woman, which has never happened until now. This is something they are making up and writing in on their own, trying to claim that it's, always been, but it hasn't. And I've heard people try to point to Romana's transformation when she tried on a couple different things when she was regenerating. The way they've done regeneration throughout the 40 some odd years that Doctor Who has been a show, basically now, the way that they've done regeneration has kind of varied at times, and what it looks like, how it happens. Anyway, they'd had one time where Romana was regenerating, and she actually tried on like about 3 or 4 different bodies. Some people try to make the case that one of those bodies looked male. I don't think so. I don't personally. I feel like, number one, it was too alien, but I feel like it was large but had feminine features. And that's the way I feel about it. So the only case that anybody tries to make is that one. So it'll be interesting to hear what Cody has to say. Anyways, moving on from Doctor Who, unless there's just like a huge demand for it, which the fact that we've gone from 15 to 13 tells me we probably don't have a large demand for it. You should write a sternly worded letter to the writers. Yeah, like they'd listen. British sci-fi, actually. But yeah, it's a lot of comedy too. But it's also very serious at times. It kind of runs back, it goes back and forth, really. Doctor Who can do that. Welcome, everybody, to the Wrecking Crew. This is the Wrecking Crew Playground, where we have our little bit of fun and, all that sort of stuff. Wrecking Crew, hey, glasses, beers, ready? Clink. Paul Capaldi in here? Love it. You can cheer with coffee. You can clink with a coffee mug. We're not too snobby here. So, I don't know. Now I've ranted enough about Doctor Who. Anybody else here love Doctor Who? No? I guess not. We're still at 13. So, anyway. Should be interesting. Mr. Hodd, he's been busy over there in Wisconsin. I sure hope it's good news. And when he comes back through on his way this way, that him and I will be flying over to Australia, hopefully together on Monday night. So it's going to be great to go see Knight Rider and Drizzt and Rudolph. David Rudolph from the Staircase, folks. I got to say, I really like David Rudolph, folks. I'm impressed with the guy. I'm not so sure how I feel about Michael Peterson, other than I don't feel like my reasonable doubt has been removed with Michael Peterson. But part of me sees where he could be guilty, and that there are some indicators there that he has motive or could have motive. And so anyway, there's enough there for me to be like able to go, yeah, I'm not 100% sure, but what I am sure of is that the prosecution, through its handling of it, like basically convinced me that they didn't prove anything. Their case was a complete shambles, and didn't really prove anything. So I'm left with reasonable doubt, and that's the honest truth of it. So, but the reason that I wanted to talk about David Rudolph first before everything else was that, for those of you who watch The Staircase, it starts out following, Michael Peterson back when this was all happening, like during the time when they were getting ready for a trial and all that stuff. It followed it. They were like filming at his house on certain days. They would have meetings with, Rudolph and the lawyer team and stuff there. And they just followed the lawyers around. And, there was part where David Rudolph was practicing his opening statement in a courtroom before they started the trial one night, and kept getting interrupted and kept having trouble. And the guy doing the graphics was frustrating him. And so he was this really arrogant guy, really cocky and arrogant guy during that process of when they were going through the original trial. And although I was impressed with him because I thought he was really good, and I thought he was impressive as an attorney and stuff like that, the fix was on there in Durham. There was just, I'll get to some of the reasons why, like, for instance, like the blow poke being found by the investigators at the time. They brought it out onto the front lawn, photographed it, and went and put it right back down in the basement of the garage that Kathleen used and had her car parked in, that they had kind of stayed out of. The family had stayed out of that one because they were reluctant, and so they had put it back in there, and they knew it was there, yet they claimed the whole time that Michael Peterson had hidden it, that was trying to hide it and get rid of it. Things like that. How do I go away? There we go. So what I was getting at is he was pretty cocky and stuff back then. I found him impressive as a lawyer and stuff, and like I said, the Durham was dishonest. But what I found really impressive about him is when he lost the case with Michael Peterson, when he lost that case, it humbled him. And that was what impressed me about, David Rudolph. The way he was humbled. And when he was in court pleading for Michael Peterson in his post-conviction motions and stuff, trying to get post-conviction relief for Michael Peterson, and because he was haunted by the case. And I just saw the humbleness in him at that point. And I just found it just very impressive how much he had humbled himself, and really how much more effective it made him. I was suddenly feeling a lot more convinced by him and the things that he was saying in the post-conviction process, less so than I was in the actual trial. I think he was brilliant. I think he's smart. I think he was a good lawyer. But in that post-conviction, that quality of humbleness really focused him. Really did. It really focused him, and he really brought his talents together in a way where he wasn't looking for glory. He was haunted by the case, and he was humbled. It just, to me, made him a far more effective lawyer, and I was impressed by that. So let me read some of the comments here. Let's see. Cheers, Jello Shot. So what are you doing? What do you want to see while you are down under? I want to see a lot of things. I'm going to see Sydney Hall, I think, when we go see Night Rider Drizzen, or at least we're going to go see it at some point and take pictures there. We're going to be in Melbourne, probably see some cool things around in Melbourne. I don't know exactly what all is going on, but I do intend to, visit with people there if I can. So I think there's a few days to do some stuff. I'll just have to see how it comes out. But obviously, I'll be stepping off the plane probably and going live. So. Yeah, Staircase is an interesting case. I mean, it's very interesting, and I feel terrible for Kathleen Peterson, and I hope I don't. I really hope for closure on all this for everybody, but I don't know if it was Michael. It doesn't make sense to me that those injuries are a result of him beating her in a rage that I suspect he could have been motivated to, but the problem is I don't see that rage coming out because there's no skull fractures, no anything, and nothing happened, no damage to the brain tissue. Okay, that means that these hits were not very hard. And if it was a murderous rage from a very able-bodied grown man and it's killing rage, it's gonna, I mean, this is the problems I have with it. I'm not saying he didn't do it. I'm just saying I have doubt. I seriously have doubt. That's just the way it is. Yeah, Trav, I'm still on, buddy. Sorry, bud. Let's see here. Everything is funnier when you have to be quiet. I'm always laughing with people to be myself. Need to go to the local cheap store, buy a baby doll, and keep it on you to give to a dingo. Oh, jeez. You people are cruel when you talk about that baby. And I mean, come on. It was an infant that got taken by a dingo, folks. I mean, jeez. Let's have a little. Well, all right, fine. This is the other channel, so we'll. I feel that I've done a video about the owl theory, so if you want to find that and post that, that'll sum up how I feel about that. I basically think that the owl, if Kathleen was, if Kathleen Peterson was attacked by an owl, it would explain to me how she has those really, really terrible cuts. It would also explain to me why she has little, like what looks like poke marks around her eyes. It would explain both of those things to me about why there is so much superficial damage to the skin and bleeding and all that. And then the little things around the eyes that it could be an owl. Could be. I'm left to figure out how this could have happened. Was she attacked inside? Had they left, the upstairs window in the bedroom open, maybe all day. The owls flew in because the mama's pregnant and we're looking for a kind of a roost after flying in through an open window, maybe or open balcony doors or something like that. And maybe when she started coming up, the male got aggressive, and I don't know. I mean, I don't know. And I realize that some people are going to listen to what I just said and think that's ridiculous. I get it. That it may be, it may not be. I don't know. I'm undecided on it. But the point is that an owl with its talons could explain what happened there better than Michael Peterson hitting her with a blowpoke. It's just, I mean, as much, I don't know. That's just the way it is. I can't see it. I can't see it happening the way the prosecution says. And when I can't see it happening that way, that's a problem. So, just recently they reversed the decision of the parents killing the baby, and they found that a dingo did take the baby. Yes, I know that, Ziggy. Ziggy, thank you. They found the baby onesie or something. They found a piece of the baby's clothing out. Yeah. Never traveled to Portugal with kids. She made me laugh out loud again. I guess after being sick since before Christmas, I must be feeling better. And it also explains the blood outside the front door too. Let's see. I had a half dingo and German Shepherd, and it was the greatest dog ever. She lived to be 18 years old, and my best friend grew up with my two girls and never bite, and so obedient, best ever. I think the owl explains it better than him beating her, and better than yeah. I mean, that's kind of the way I feel about it. It's like I don't see it happening from a beating. So how did it happen? So I'm left still wondering how did it happen? Basically, when it comes down to it, I'm still left wondering how did it happen. I'm looking at this owl theory, and it kind of plugs in. Seriously, those things around the eyes. Go look up. Go look up barred owls. Go look up how when they attack humans and animals, even they attack deer in the wild. They're pretty crazy little bastards, really. But they go for the eyes, and there's a lot. You'll see a lot of people that had encounters with barred owls that either got like an eye like removed or flesh around their eye socket removed, with and you can just see their red eye inside of there, and it's crazy some of the stuff. But then other ones just have like little pokes around the brows and on the kind of bottom side of or top side of their cheeks, right around the bottom of their eyes. Like those are there, and those. So that's another thing where I'm looking at it going, that kind of looks like an owl attack again. So it's like, I don't know. And then there's that one mark on the head that looks exactly like an owl claw, and it's like, I mean, it seems ridiculous, the owl theory. I mean, it totally does. When I first heard about it, I was like, oh, come on, owl theory, really? What? I mean, but then I heard a little bit about it, and I was like, they seem to be aggressive little bastards. They do seem to be pretty nasty. And then I saw pictures of the damage they can do to humans and animals, and I was just like, wow, they're pretty crazy and pretty intense. So, and then I started looking at her injuries. I don't know, man. It's just, I don't know, but it didn't happen the way the prosecution said. That's the problem. And Mr. Capaldi asked the other day, he asked me who would be better, who is the worst, Judge, what's the guy from the staircase, Judge Hudson, Willis, or Fox. And that easily goes in this order. Fox is the worst for allowing what happened to Brendan, for not calling that confession out for the piece of horse shite that it was, for not doing the right thing there. Judge Fox is the worst to allow a 16-year-old kid like Brendan, who is kind of mentally limited, or at least not quite mentally on the level of his peers as a 16-year-old, and to let what happened to him happen. Fox is the worst. Hands down, worst. Willis, right behind him, right there. Right, or should I say in front of him. Then it's Willis. Because Willis at least had some sense. He didn't allow in all the BS crap about Stephen Avery that really didn't matter. All the stuff that the state wanted to bring in that they never chose to go after Stephen for in the past for some reason, which you got to wonder about. But all this kind of hearsay stuff and whatever that they wanted to bring in. And so he blocked that. He ended up leaving the door open for Stephen to do testing on all the blood and the RAV4 and that sort of stuff like that or whatever. He did do things like that. So I give Willis a tiny bit of credit, but still think he was crooked as hell because of things like he couldn't see the relevance of the deleted voicemails and the fact that it was happening in a very time-sensitive time compared to the case and all that. The fact that he makes certain statements, I mean, he's still a complete, whack job in my opinion. But anyway, and then I would say better than that is Hudson. And the reason why I say that is because he actually did acknowledge that Michael Peterson didn't get a fair trial due to the circumstances that David Rudolph brought on post-conviction, and he actually overturned his verdict, and a verdict reached in his courtroom, which judges aren't exactly overly inclined to do, right? And so he did that. So, anyway. All right. So let's. Folks. All right, I just sent the link to Mark. Well, Fox was relying on Glenn to give him the scoop, and no judge would expect a defense attorney to be that whacked. Once he understood, took action. Willis, I think, is the worst. Me too. Crazy owls and in any birds really. They make it for the crime web they weave. My hat is off to the defense attorneys. A dear friend of mine is one, and it drives me crazy fighting prosecutors' lies. Yeah, Charla, I get it. Some people now. Charla is here. Okay, so here's what Charla says, folks. She says, "I believe he beat her to death because she was berating him about being gay." Just saying. And what Charla's saying is about the fact that he was seeking out, in encounters with other gay men and stuff like that. And that she's suggesting that she may have been threatening things or whatever because she found out about that and was going to expose him, and he was very protective, like very, self-conscious about it, didn't want that dark secret to get out, and everything that may have driven him crazy and made him murder her. That's what I'm talking about, the fact that there is potential motive for him. And that's why I don't know what to think about him, but I still don't see how the injuries match the injuries don't match a intense adult male in the heat of anger and emotion beating somebody to death. The injuries don't say that. The injuries are kind of superficial in a lot of ways. That's the way I feel anyways. Sorry. But yeah, that's kind of what I think anyway. Yeah, we only got 16 people over here. What a bummer. Oh, a few people responded to the tweet. Oh, Pom Pom was quick on it. Let's see what else we got here. Hold on, just checking around some things here, folks. What I should do. All right. Yeah, she may have found it on the computer. I mean, a lot of this is all speculative. That's the other part of it. That's why, for me, the prosecution needs to prove their theory better, because a lot of it's speculative. I mean, it's kind of blindly and hopefully drawing things together in a way that I don't really see personally. Blowpokes are hollow. That's the purpose. So you can blow air onto the fire directly. Exactly. Travis is right. That's what a blowpoke is for. So, Hopefully, hopefully Mark is home at this point. Should be getting the notification. Yeah, give him an extra. Hey, hi, Erica. Yeah, we don't get very many over here. So here's Erica. Ready? Here we go. Ready? Here's your Jello shots, your coffee mugs, whatever it is. Here we go. Clink. Hey, Travis got his package from Mark. There you go, buddy. We gotta get a replacement for Ollie, honestly. He isn't home yet. No, he'll be running through here on Monday, and him and I will be jumping off together. So, yep, you got it from Manitowoc, Wisconsin, Trav. Yep, that's where he is. That's why he can tell us, news when he comes on here in a minute. Okay, then he's gonna be right back. I am actually gonna take this opportunity to play a Stacy song real quick, and go to the bathroom while we're waiting on Mark. Oh, there's Mark.
Howdy.
Hey, buddy. We're gonna play a little Stacy song real quick, and I think while that's going on, I'm gonna go hit the restroom real quick. Your picture looks sideways, by the way.
Yeah, I have that problem occasionally. How about now?
There you go. Right side up.
There you go.
So you're having fun over there, eh?
Yeah, it's coming to a close, and I'll be going to visit Wee Angel tomorrow. So
Wee Angel, yeah.
And Pete Dassey as well. So that'll be good.
What happened there? Sorry, folks. Technical difficulties. So just so people know, before we cut to Stacy here, you got to go up to Crivets yesterday, right?
I did, yes.
You got to talk to Pa?
Yeah, more than talk. Had a few beers. Yeah, it was really good. It was sort of, I'd been up there once before last year, but Alan's a really great guy and fun to be around, and he's got 1,000 stories to tell you, all of which make you laugh. And his language can be a bit colourful at times, so that's always kind of fun. So, but yeah, no, it was really nice, and it was in a place where he feels very comfortable and relaxed, and he potters around and does lots of little things, and which is a bit tricky in the winter because there's like huge amounts of snow up there. When you drive down to his off the sort of a main road down to where his property is, the snow banks are higher than the car. You can't hardly see the properties left and right. So it's definitely a different type of weather condition that I'm used to. That's for sure. Well, I probably should put my headset on too, Richard. I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. Oh, me too. I'm gonna have to do that too.
Yeah. 1 sec.
Okay, that should do it. All right.
I have some photos from today I can show you later on if you want.
Oh, good. Save those for when we come back from the little break here. While we listen to Stacy. Might be 2 songs. Let me see here. But maybe not. Hopefully not.
I'm just having a cup of coffee, by the way.
Right on. I'm having Dos Equis.
All right.
Hey, Saturday night, right?
Yeah, Saturday night. Jeez, what a life.
All right.
No. Saturday night in Manitowoc.
Yeah. Be right back, folks.
So let's keep talking about Avery. Yeah, let's keep talking till he's set free. Oh, you just listen, I think you'll see why it matters. Really matters. Put aside the documentary, the stage version ludicrousy. Oh, all their claims so blatantly get torn to tatters. I think that matters. I bet you heard about Hood Lad Sweat, but maybe you ain't heard this yet. 19 more times the DNA that was left anywhere else that day. I think that matters. I really do. I think it matters. An ex-boyfriend with a day planner page, and yet they did not investigate. And who knows why, and who can say why he was signed into the crime scene that day. I think that matters. I really do. I think it matters. About the barrel that once was seized, but then returned to the Averys. The bones were found the next day, but not one photograph exists of where they lay. I think that matters. I really do. I think it matters. I could go on listing things off, 80 more things. I just keep on singing these songs till every freedom rings. I said it matters. It really, I know it matters. It could be you, I think it matters. It could be me, I know it matters. Work with Casey, it matters. I said it matters. It really matters. Don't get strange, no, I ain't getting straight. Don't get strange, I ain't getting straight. I'm sick of the suffering, it's the pain. Don't get strange. Well, we know the story. Oh, ain't the way they said we can see. They got you credited. Nobody say, don't get and it walked, but it made no sense. Either in the game, don't get straight. Don't get straight, no, 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 oh, now I ain't getting straight, don't get straight. I ain't getting straight. That lion, that cheating, that predatory, sweaty, anything he says, he couldn't throw away. He's a legal snake, don't get straight. Only we finally find out who's to blame, don't get straight.
Don't get strange.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, folks. I'm going to leave the camera off for a minute while I'm finishing a piece of pizza. How you doing, Mark?
I'm very well, thank you, my friend.
So,
Saturday night in downtown Manitowoc, it's all happening.
yeah.
I've been out to the Sheriff's Disco tonight. So
Sheriff's Disco? All
yeah,
right.
yeah. You know, it's just a rocking event here in Manitowoc. So.
Uh-oh.
And just again, I mentioned it once before. I hope everyone on board here tonight. I'm sorry, I don't see the questions you might ask because I'm just using my phone, not my computer. So I'm not ignoring what might be being said there. So I have to rely on Mr. Kose to tell me what people are asking.
They're asking how Stephen is.
Oh, okay. Stephen's great.
And then tell a story about Pa. So, Stephen first. Stephen first. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, I went to see Stephen for the last time, at least on this trip, with his dear friend Sandra this afternoon, and he's fun to be around. I can assure you that. I've said it to you before. It's fun to be with Stephen. He's a good-hearted guy. I want to show you a couple of photos, and I want you to. This is a quiz, all right?
Okay.
So there's 2 photos because they take photos down at the prison at Warpon, as they do in most prisons. And well, you pay to have them done, and they give you copies while you're there. So here's the first photo. So
cool.
Just look carefully at this photo.
Yep.
A bit like one of those quizzes, spot the differences. Okay. Mm-hmm. Here's the first one. So just capture that in your head, make a photographic memory of it.
Yeah.
And here's the next one. Right. I want you to tell me what's different.
You besides you and Sandra switching places?
Yeah, apart from that, that's a bit obvious. So
I don't know. Go back to the first one again.
Okay.
Stephen's arms are on top in the second picture.
You mean this one or the previous one?
The second one you showed, the previous one.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. He's on top. So what does that tell you?
You guys are lifting them up.
Well, nearly. It's the reverse of that.
You know, metaphorically speaking, as well as physically there.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's kind of true in a sense, but it's the same outcome, different strategy. I'm crouching, and Sandra is a little bit, I think. So, so to make Stephen look taller because he's a little short ass, right? So,
right.
But what he makes up for stature, what he doesn't have in height, he makes up for his big heart. So, yeah.
Right.
So he's got a great grin on his face there this afternoon. So
that's awesome. It's good to see Stephen smiling.
Yeah. So anyway, that was kind of fun, and we chatted about lots of things and played cards and yeah, he's in a really good mood. Really good mood. He's very keen and anxious to for things to progress, as we all are at
Sure.
the local the circuit court in due course, and he's itching for a hearing or
Sure.
some other positive decision. So, and then to go back to and yesterday, so I went with my travelling buddy Sandra. Went with up to Crivets, where Alan, Stephen's dad, goes on weekends from Fridays to Mondays. I went up there and spent, I guess, in total about 4 or 5 hours there, and it's very snowy up there. It wasn't snowing, but it was lots and lots of snow on the ground.
On the ground, right.
And all over the buildings, and so because of the weather, we were forced to drink beer. So so that was kind of fun. And Alan's a real storyteller. So he's 81 years old, I think it is, and so he's got a few stories to tell throughout his life, and
right.
He has some fun stories to tell, and he loves to tell them as well. So
yeah, I bet.
And it's interesting when you're talking to Alan because, as I've mentioned before, he's quite hard of hearing, and so most of the things you actually say to him in normal conversation, he won't understand because he can't hear you. So
right.
you either got to yell, or get real close to him, or repeat what you say a few times.
Right.
But that never limits his ability to speak back, right? So he kind of just goes for it, turns the button on to full blast, and away he goes with his conversation. So
right.
And he has many funny ones to tell. And I was telling Paul this morning about. I'll be really quick about this story. It is kind of funny, but at least was for me.
Yeah, go ahead.
I hope it's not too repetitious for some who may have heard. So we're sitting around the famous table in the kitchen up in Crivets there, and there were these little postage packages about the size of a normal envelope and addressed to some company. And they were sort of sitting right in front of me when I was there. And there was 4 or 5 of them. And I said, Alan, what are these? Because they look kind of really businesslike. And he says, well, let me tell you a story about that, he says. And he says, I said, well, and I picked one up, and it kind of felt like there was money in there, like notes. And they were thick. They were about this thick, and this sort of long and so on. He said, what's this, Alan? He says, that's just a load of crap. What do you mean? He goes, by the way, I'm going to say this as if this is a normal conversation. I want you to understand that it takes quite a lot to get this conversation back and forth, given Alan's hearing, right?
Right.
So he says, many years ago, we had this, Dolores and I had this insurance policy with this company for our life. And when we got to 65, they cancelled it on us, as insurance companies do when you get to 65. And he goes, yeah, those damn son of a bitches, they cancelled that policy on us and we got nothing for it. So he was having a little sort of complaint about that. And
right.
And I said, okay, yeah, I'll get that part. So why the packages? He says, well, they keep sending me stuff in the mail about getting insurance. So I get these things, I cut them up into pieces of paper about this long, and lots of other unrelated catalogs, cuts them all up, sticks them in these replied paid envelopes, the ones that you don't have to put a postage stamp on.
Right.
And he sends them back to them. There's junk in it. Okay, well, why do you do that? He says, I want them to pay for that postage. So, then he pulls out this little book like a diary, and he goes, let me see. Last year I sent back 144 of these things. He tells me, and this year so far, which is March, I've sent back 52. So it's like an Avery revenge.
That's funny.
So
he keeps them busy. I love it.
Yeah,
awesome.
and he's very meticulous about stuff. I mean, that's a little silly example, but
it's awesome though.
Yeah. And anyway, after we managed to demolish a few drinks in the house, said, "How about I take you out for something to eat?" And I said, yeah, that'd be nice, Alan. Thanks. So he took Sandy and I to down to some funny little cabin bar on the edge of a frozen lake where you pulled up and there were like 20 big pickup trucks with equally big guys inside the bar with beards and winter coats on, and a dark room with TV going. And so we sat in there and talked to some of the locals and had a bit of a chinwag about whatever the going topic was, and had a few more beers, and then we bought these he bought on our behalf these massive hamburgers and stuff, which was like eating half a bear, but was fun anyway. And and I was just I hope I can do this really quickly without holding you up. I took a photo. There was a really fun photo on the wall. Oh, by the way, here's a picture of Alan that I took. He's shaving off his beard. He looks pretty cool. Hey.
Yeah. Looks pretty good.
Yeah, but there's a photo of a sign that was behind the bar, and I was curious about the sign, and I had asked the barmaid would she mind taking a picture of it, and I'll try to explain this to you. So this is the sign, and it says
is the state line.
So so for those who may not know, Wisconsin's little thing is all about cheese. So they're called the cheeseheads.
Right, the cheeseheads, Packer fans, right?
Yeah. So they say what separates the cheeseheads from the shitheads is the state line, which is basically saying everyone else.
Right. Yeah.
That was behind the bar. I thought was very appropriate. So.
Yeah. Funny. That's funny.
But anyway, overall,
it's like with Charlie Barron's, where he's always like "F the Bears."
That's right. Yeah. And Alan's of course, all the bar is full of all sorts of guns hanging from the ceiling and bear heads and deer antlers and all the trophies from things that go on outside in the woods. So it's real bear country and deer country, and if you don't own a gun, you kind of you're not a local. So.
Right.
You have to show your gun to get in, right? So.
Yeah, there you go. It's your identification.
That's right. So, but Alan loves it up there. It's his way of keeping himself busy and potters, and he's got 1,000 projects all going at the one time.
Mm-hmm.
And so he enjoys that, and it's kind of fun. And he did very much appreciate having Sandy and myself there to sort of share his experience. So. As I said, he's fun to be around. So
I'm so jealous of you, dude. I wanted to see him so much. When I went there last year in June, I was so looking forward to being able to see him and have a chat with him. And even though now I know the situation with his hearing and everything, I still I really still wanted to see him and stuff. At least to see him like tell stories, like like you're saying. You
can sit and listen to him for hours, right?
You're right.
I'd asked him at some stage about I don't know how he got onto the subject of apples, but he had some apple trees, and he was telling me how he grew these apple trees just from a seed, and that they'd grown up and produced all these apples. And then he started telling me this story about he grew this tree that was really going really, really well, and he Stephen got out there with one of his guns, he says, and shot the tree to pieces, right?
Oh.
Like to, just destroyed it, as a kid might do.
Right.
And Alan says, I'm not sure whether I gave him a whooping for that or not, but he certainly deserved it if I did, right? So.
Right. That's funny.
But can I just tell you one other quick little thing about that?
Yeah.
Is that I know everyone would appreciate this, but there was a little note of sadness in me when I was there and I really appreciated Alan's hospitality and goodwill, etc. But I couldn't help but thinking this should be Stephen who's there sharing this time with his dad.
Sure.
And whilst I was grateful for the moment, it would have been lovely if Stephen had been able to be there, because he loves his parents so much and they love him.
Yeah.
And he gets talked about all the time. Like he said to me, Mark, he said, he made in Alan's way, he said, Mark, Stephen's been inside. It's just not fair. He shouldn't be there. You know, he makes comments like that, you know, and you know, he's a dad about his son, you know.
Yeah.
And it's really quite touching to.
Yeah, you see it in MAM, you know, when he talks about those fish tanks that him and Stephen were working on and all that.
They're at Crivets, by the way. They're at Crivets.
They are?
Those fish tanks, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that's all a very touching moment with him. I mean, it moves you. Moves me.
Me too. And just on a lighter note, those of you who are avid watchers of MAM2 might recall.
By the way, everybody's saying thank you so much for telling these stories. So
my pleasure.
Feel free to continue to tell as many as you may want here. So,
okay.
Just so you know.
I'll try the best. When I get boring, just tell me, all right?
Okay.
So here's another photo. I'm sorry, it's a phone on a phone and it's not very clear, but whoops, hang on. That's Alan and I sharing a beer.
There you go.
There.
Awesome. The Hodd.
That's right. I still haven't got used to that, but I'm taking it. Actually, sorry, I just realized the photo I wanted to show you is actually on the phone I'm using to talk to you, so I can't show it.
I see.
But it was a photo of the oven. Does everyone know why I might have taken a photo of the oven? It was the funny part in that MAM2.
Because when she was cooking on it or whatever.
Yeah. Go, Alan.
Yeah, you couldn't hear her.
Alan's there watching the Packers or something. Couldn't obviously hear her anyway. And eventually he comes over and she's trying to ask him. Dolores is trying to ask Alan which burner's not working, and Alan's got the stick in the pot stirring the venison stew or whatever it was. I can stir this stuff; it'll be good, you know. So I thought that oven really sort of struck a note with me, and I thought I'd like to have a photo of that, you know. So yeah. But, you know,
that was a funny bit.
Yeah, you can just imagine. Those two are adorable. You know, typical elderly couple in love. That is, they love each other to bits and they want each other and they enjoy being apart as well. You know, so
you're right.
But they're both wonderful.
Distance makes the heart grow fonder, they say.
Yeah, that's right. You know, and Stephen is such a mini me of Alan, right? He's got that same sort of style about him, about Stephen does about Alan. So so you like talking to them both at the same time. So,
Pom is asking if you would come into Discord to post your pictures in there for the Wrecking Crew. Or you could just send them to me if you want, and I can post them in there.
Yeah, it might be better. I'm not that tech savvy. That might be easier and more efficient for everyone if I give them to you.
All right.
Yeah, you can post them there. So.
Yeah, we'll work on you. We'll get you in there eventually.
Okay. Yeah, if they keep it simple for me, it's good. So.
That's the thing about Discord. It is fairly simple. I made a tutorial, so if you ever want to get in there, we can. Okay. Let's see what else we got. Let's see. Oh, Ziggy wants to go there and cook him a meal on that stove.
Oh yeah. Alan was telling me some. I'm not sure how many people watching are kind of animal lovers or vegetarians, but he tells me quite a few stories about, catching rabbits and chickens and how to let's just say dress them is probably the polite word.
Right.
So,
skin them, you mean, and gut them, and
all that.
Right, clean them. Okay.
Yeah, that's not something I could personally do. Although I don't, I appreciate those who have the skill and the stomach to do it, but don't ask me ever to do it. I'll run 1,000 miles. So but it's second nature to them. This is what it's like to be up in the woods, right? So, and like Alan told an interesting but fun story because he keeps rabbits. And he was also talking about squirrels, and he mentioned some fellow across the road from him who Alan saw these 3 really huge squirrels out in the snow one day, just hopping around doing what squirrels do, I think it was in the snow. Maybe it wasn't, but maybe it was in the spring. But
Right.
he said, and then the neighbor came over later on and said to him, the neighbor said, I just shot 5 squirrels, and Alan said, why, do you want to eat them? He goes, oh, hell no, I don't eat squirrels. And then Alan said, well, then I won't tell you what actually Alan did say, but let's just say he tore strips off this guy for shooting these animals just for the fun of it, right?
Right.
He's one of these guys who, whilst he's a hunter,
Right.
you have to have a purpose for hunting beyond just your personal enjoyment of shooting something. So,
Yeah. Right.
so
I admire that about him.
Yeah. So long as you're shooting them, and obviously it's legal, as long as you're shooting them and you're using them for food, he's fine with that. But if you're just shooting them for the sake of killing a creature, he's not at all happy about that. So
yeah.
Yeah.
So he wants to know how close Mom and Pa are with the rest of the family. I know that from when I was there at rally time last year, really close from what I could tell. But
very, very close knit family.
Yeah. It's like I said, folks, watching Kayla with Dolores, Mama Avery. Oh my God, man, those two are a freaking riot. Those two are hilarious together, man. I freaking love those two.
Yeah, they are good. They're like kindred spirits, I think.
Mm-hmm.
They're sort of there's something special about that relationship, that's for sure. But
they are great.
The family, all the family. I mean, like any family, I'm sure they have their little bumpy moments, like any family does.
Oh, sure.
But as an outsider looking in, yeah, they're great. They all have this common purpose of just getting on with life and doing their best to bring their son and their brother and their uncle home. And their
Carla's around a lot, most likely, right? Carla too.
Yeah. Yep.
And I know when I was there, I saw a lot of familiar faces, like Tracy Struncy. I saw there. I got to see Earl. Earl was there.
Yeah.
Remember when he was trying to get Dolores to put on those sunglasses and she wouldn't do it? Oh my God, that was so freaking hilarious. He kept trying to regroup. Earl kept like regrouping and trying to find a new way to push the idea of getting her to wear the glasses again. It was so funny watching it. That was hilarious. Oh my God, those people are a riot, man.
And I'm not talking anything out of school here because it's just a matter of fact. Earl and Chucky pretty much run the salvage yard. Alan does a bit of work there, but it's the boys that are the main driving force behind the salvage yard. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. This was happening right there at the kitchen table with him and Mama Avery right at the kitchen table. We all came in. It was like I just gotten off the plane. We were coming from Carla's, and you were already there. That's right. You were already there.
Yeah.
And so we all came in, and then that's when it's just funny. He had those. I don't know. They were like funny looking sunglasses. They were kind of like odd.
Yeah, I know the ones. Yeah.
And he kept trying to get her to wear them. It was hilarious. Anyway, that was freaking hilarious to me.
Dolores is a tough cookie. She's a loving mum and wife, but there's a tipping point you won't want to push her too far because she'll stand up for what she knows is right. So,
right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's clear in Stephen's first trial. Vogel tries to get her to say she talked about what time Judge Wapner was on. He tries desperately to get her to do it, but she's stubborn. Oh, she's stubborn. I love her. She's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, she's great. She's a great lady.
Yeah, she's great. She is. She's awesome. So, let's hope the Mad Scotsman was going to wake up and join us. Where is that Mr. Capaldi at?
He's probably, you mean sober up, don't you?
And sober up, yeah, possibly.
Yeah.
Saturday night.
Yeah. Or Sunday morning for him, wouldn't it be?
Yeah, it would be. That's why. Yeah, he'd be hungover from Saturday night. Exactly.
That's right.
Yeah.
Probably just getting home, knowing him. So.
Yeah, stumbling home, as it were.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Staggering.
Yeah.
No havering. Somebody said no havering.
All right. I wanted to ask you because I had a little bit of a chat about this to Paul this morning, and that was, did you put out your challenge to your loyal followers there about finding a little bit more about the Supreme Court case? The Supreme Court election that's coming up on April 2nd.
I did mention it. I did say something about it. Travis is all over it. There are some other people. Did we create a place, or did we decide on a place in Discord, folks, where we were posting about them?
Oh, well, let me
see anybody answering, but yeah.
So one of the things, because I'm here in Manitowoc,
sure, Tracy Keogh's all over it. Anyway, sorry.
She would be. It's interesting because I'm here in Wisconsin, and that election is for the Supreme Court of Wisconsin.
Right.
And it's a popular election. In other words, it's voted on by the people.
Mm-hmm.
Then now, of course, you're starting to see advertisements on television and other places, billboards, and for the Supreme Court justices, which I was saying this morning is a little counterintuitive to me, that people should have to promote themselves to be on the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
And intrinsically you'd like to think it shouldn't matter if you're good at your job. It shouldn't matter who the person or what the case is or what the matter is. That you should just in a proper independent way be able to judge the merits of something irrespective of any self-interest group that might be supporting you, because the ads say, supported by this group of people, supported by that group of people.
That's true.
I find it a little odd, but it's the system here, so it is what it is. But I find it a little odd to see these roles being the subject of an election.
Well, I personally can understand why it would need to be, obviously nobody really pays attention to, these sort of things really by nature. So for them to do ads to try to say what they're about or whatever, I think I'd be okay with that kind of stuff. What I would not approve of is attack ads, mudslinging, anything like that, where it becomes basically where it's no longer civil and it's no longer about the public being informed about what the candidates stand for. It becomes about the candidates slinging the mud at each other, and that's when I think it is a problem. So I think I kind of agree with you, but I think it's something that does need to be monitored so that certain things don't happen.
Yeah. And it's interesting the point you make that sometimes these sorts of elections go under the radar, but as we know from the higher court justices that get under these higher court roles, and clearly within the state of Wisconsin you don't get any higher than the Supreme Court, the personalities and the views of these people are very relevant, and because if, I don't know, say for example there was a law to allow same-sex marriage, for argument's sake, and you have a particular justice who's just totally against that, right? Or there was a dispute about something about the legality of that, because the Supreme Court doesn't make laws except to the extent that they interpret them, and it gets established through case law.
Right.
Laws are made by the
legislature.
Correct. And so they're just interpreting, but they do in effect create law by virtue of how they interpret.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's
so my example.
The Supreme Court of the United States interpreted AEDPA as the turd that it was and robbed us of our habeas rights. So, just as an example of what Mark is talking about, for those of you who, anyway,
yes.
Sorry.
So the attitude.
Ziggy asked, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, dare I mention the control question and Judge Hamilton, right? So,
control question.
Seriously, his approach to that, with due respect to Mr. Hamilton, was bizarre, right? It didn't logically make sense at all. And then you've got to say, well, what was his motive for taking that view? So
none of Hamilton's arguments make sense. How are you going to use things that you can't prove as corroboration that his story is true? That doesn't make any sense, Judge Hamilton.
No.
Go ahead.
So to go back to the simple point about, are these important elections or not? They absolutely are. Very important. And it's really essential that people get out and vote so that the elected persons realize they have to be accountable to a much wider audience than the little narrow margin they tend to have to think about at present. And,
absolutely.
I'd love to see that big movement that happened on the weekend with the young people talking about climate change, that the young people get out there and vote. Get out there, go out. Seriously, you could spend an hour on it, and that's all you would need to kind of get a reasonable grasp of what the candidates are about. But just go out there and vote on Tuesday, the 2nd of April. Don't say, "Oh, that's for someone else to do." Or it doesn't. My little vote doesn't matter. It does matter, because you talk to your family. Your family forms a view. Your family talk to the neighbours. They form a view. Your neighbours talk to other neighbours. The community forms a view. Your vote does count. It's a terrible disrespect, not perhaps intentionally, to democracy in your country if you don't vote. You've got to have a say. The democracy, to be successful, needs you to have a say. Otherwise, we end up getting this large groups of different disenfranchised people, largely due to their own disinterest in the matters. So,
yeah, absolutely. It's important to be informed, and I mean, in this case, we're trying to help people get informed and get out there and vote on this one. One of these candidates would seem to be progressive for criminal justice reform. The other would seem to possibly maybe be a little bit of a stickler and not wanting to not wanting to mess with the status quo at all. I'm not going to say anything more than that, or names or anything else. Just it's important to look at what the people stand for and vote your conscience, folks. So,
indeed, and as I keep saying, it's really your obligation, in my view, your democratic obligation to participate. And when you don't, you're letting your nation down and your state down or your local community down.
Right.
So.
Exactly.
April 2nd, Tuesday, get out there and vote. If you're a Wisconsinite or a cheesehead, whatever you want to call yourself, get out there and vote.
What he said, folks, what he said. And anyway, so any other stories about Mr. Alan Avery? Somebody did ask, actually, before any more stories about Alan, somebody did ask, and if you know, can you tell us, when was the last time Stephen talked to KZ, if he said, or if he mentioned?
I don't know the answer to that, although I can tell you that he talks to her regularly.
So, all right, there you go, folks. Best answer you're going to get, regularly.
Yeah. I don't know when he last spoke to her.
It's good enough for me.
Yeah. So she's in regular contact with Stephen. So.
All right, so there's your best answer. Okay, so any other funny stories about
Alan?
Alan was telling?
Well, I hope I won't be in trouble by telling you this story.
Let
me think
about it. Exclusive, folks. Exclusive. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
Well, sorry. Sandra and I we were going up there, and Alan knew we were coming, but wasn't quite sure exactly when. So we arrived at his place, and you've got to kind of imagine this little house in the woods, and his car's there, and there's just snow everywhere, right? Just everywhere. And anyway, we got out. I got out of the car, and you have to tentatively walk across the icy snow because it's easy to fall on your backside, like so easy to do that.
Right. The slick stuff, the hard stuff,
yeah, it gets that glade, because we're in spring, so what happens during the day, the snow starts to melt and gets a bit watery, but at night it's still cold. So then that
freezes over again.
Freezes, and you've got ice, so like, the ice capades if you're not careful. And so anyway, I go up to the door because it's a sliding glass door, so you can't really see in because of the difference between light outside and darkness inside. And I sort of squeeze my nose up against the glass and knocks, and Alan's there, and he sort of invites us in, right? And so in we go, and then about 10 minutes later, after being in there and the first beer had been cracked, he says, "Oh, I was really glad I saw you guys pull up in the car." He said, "Because I didn't have any pants on when you.
I was gonna say, dude, did he answer the door in a wife beater and boxers with red polka dots?
Yeah, well, and he said, I saw that car come, and I raced in the room and got my, Alan's typical pants and his braces,
suspenders, and
yeah. And we said, oh, we're glad we didn't come too soon as well, Alan. So,
oh, that's funny. Yeah, that's funny. I was gonna say, it's like, oh my god, he didn't get there and he was in red polka dot boxers right now.
well, he might have been, but fortunately, I didn't get the chance to see it.
Awesome. Yeah, that's hilarious. That's great. You know, I hope when I'm there this year we get to run up there and go see him and stuff. Maybe I can convince him to allow me to film him telling some of his stories for everybody on the YouTube channel. Maybe he'll let me do that. So
they'll have to be the best way, if he's okay with that. The best way to do it is just to say, look, I might record this. Are you okay with this? Because there's no way you can have a normal.
Yeah, I'm not going to try to have a conversation with him. No, but I may let him tell stories. I mean, I think everybody would love it. So
yeah, he's good at that, and you might have to. He has, when he gets excited about telling the stories, which he often does.
Oh, that will be awesome to see.
The language gets a little colorful at times, but
right. Hey, look, everybody! Alan gets a pass on Erekose's channel. He gets a pass.
I reckon he does too. So, and he knows it too. Like he says, like as soon as he swears, because it's just part of the emotion of what his story. He says, he goes, "Oh, I probably shouldn't have said that." He says, or he goes, "Oh, I'm sorry about that, Sandy." Talking to Sandy Grievance. But 2 minutes later, he says it again, right in the next story. So it's not like it prohibits him. In fact, I think if you eliminated the swear words, it'd take away from the story.
Yeah.
Whether he's talking about an old 1940 Buick or a squirrel that ran across his yard, or I don't know, a duck that crapped on his tractor. There's just it's all full of that colorful language that really adds to.
Oh, I love it. I hope he'll let me. I hope he will let me. Oh my gosh, it would be awesome. I think everybody would enjoy listening to Alan. I loved listening to him tell stories. Like, dude, that part of MAM where he's like in their little garden area. And he's just kind of going through there and talking about the different stuff him and Steven were growing. And he talks about that one thing. He goes, oh, that thing's good right out of the ground, man, with a little bit of salt and just like, right? And I mean, he was I like listening to him just talk about it and everything. So I would dig it. If you would let me do that when we're there, that'd be awesome. But if not, I'll just sit there and listen to him anyway. But I mean, his awesome.
His garden is amazing. He's like the original,
the one in Crivets.
Oh yeah, and that's where those things you were just describing are all in Crivets.
It's all in Crivets.
Yeah,
cool.
That's not
that little bridge behind him. I was like, oh, where is that on the Avery property? I was like,
no, it's all in Crivets. And he's got these wonderful gardens. He's got this huge pond that he had excavated out. He's such a doer, seriously. He's excavated out this massive pond, left a little island in the pond.
Right.
So he had an island there and built a bridge from the edge over to the pond.
Right.
Over to the island.
Right.
And has a little gazebo there where, he goes and has a few quiet ones and where all his gardens are. And, but, you go, seriously, this is like the pyramids of Egypt here. Who built this? Right. So,
you should have seen video of it while you were there, dude.
Well, I would have this time, except it was freezing cold outside.
Oh, that's true. It wouldn't be best now. Yeah, when we're there in June, though, it'll be probably prime.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's a really, you take your hat off to him. He's such a doer, and he loves it. And he just loves all the little projects he's got going. And he talks about all the next 20 he's got going, right?
Right.
So he hasn't got on a horizon, I tell you. Well, if it is one, it's one that you never walk to. So
right.
Right. Yeah. So.
Somebody asks, do you think Steven knows about Stacy Seabrook? Do you happen to know that?
Oh, he definitely does know. He knows because I told him, right?
You told him. There you go. He knows, folks. He knows.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I can't play anything. You're not allowed to take anything in the visits. And
Right.
when I was telling Stephen about Stacy and in fact Alan also and Dolores, I played the music to Dolores.
Right.
We did play a little bit to Alan, but again, very difficult for him to hear it well.
Right.
But
You
in
have to give him
Stephen's
the
case,
earbuds and turn
yeah,
the volume up.
yeah, you never know what he's hearing, right? So, but in Stephen's case, he was very touched by it. I sort of, in Stephen's case, because it was much easier, I talked to him about the basis for the music, not just, oh, this is a nice song. How Stacey understands the cases so deeply, and and uh, and so he's written these songs and performs these songs based on a really deep passion for the cause. And I said to him, Steve, you remember when you had that brain fingerprinting done, And he goes, oh
Mhm.
yeah, he remembered. Of course. And I said, by the way, where did that get done? Did that get done here in the prison? And he said, oh no, they took me over to a hospital nearby, and it was done over there. And I said, well, I said to him, Steve, I was telling you about Stacey Seabrook. He wrote a song about brain fingerprinting, and a particular line in that song is, they should brain fingerprint them all. Well, he had a good
Mhm.
old chuckle about that one. He said, yeah, that's
Mhm.
what they should do, right? So,
Yeah. Right.
so no, he's very, it's a bit odd. It's a little odd in a sense. I guess we raised this issue when we had a chat early in my visit here, that was an example of something, we tend to think Stephen knows a whole lot of stuff that we know, but because his communication funnels through which he gets information is not as broad and as open as what it is for us.
Right.
Often we know more things or have more things reinforced for us to know than
Right.
Stephen does.
Sure.
And I mean,
Sure.
that's a little micro example, but that's an example of that music. Stephen didn't know it really existed because he doesn't have any forum within which to hear it. So,
Right.
anyway, he loves it. Long
Yeah.
answer to the question. He loves the music, and so did Dolores, and she
Awesome.
thought it was remarkable to hear songs that had their name in it, right? So that was pretty
Yeah.
special. So
Awesome.
yeah,
Awesome. That's
yeah,
cool. That's
and
way cool.
Kayla, Stephen's niece, who we know, she thought that was really beautiful. So yeah,
Cool.
well
Awesome.
done, Stacey Seabrook.
Hey, I love the new one, man. I think it matters.
Yeah,
That one's
isn't that good?
really, that one's just sticking with me, man. I just dig that one. Dig that one a
Yeah,
lot. So,
yeah, it's a beautiful song, beautiful, beautiful song. So, um, but
all
yeah,
right.
so
Sorry.
oh,
Go
sorry,
ahead.
I thought I was interrupting you. So go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say. So, what? I don't know if Travis is still here or not. He's up at the ranch, so he might have been drinking too much, and he might be gone now. I haven't seen his name in a while, but I expected him to be here to talk about all the things in Australia that are gonna kill me, right?
All right. Yeah. I tell you one thing that will. That Mad Scotsman. I tell
Yeah.
you, if you go into a bar with him, you're bound not to come out
Right. Yeah.
alive. So that'll be the most dangerous thing you should be worried about him.
Alcohol poisoning, trying to keep up with the drunk Scotsman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Noted.
We do have some dangerous critters there, but they're more sensationalized overseas than they are locally, so
Sure.
we don't worry about them. So
It's not like you run
but
into black bears here every day, everywhere in
yeah,
the US.
exactly. Yeah.
So, but
So
but I heard the koalas can be pretty vicious, though, dude.
well, they're shy critter. If you get they're not running around everywhere for you to pick them up. They're only in sort of certain areas of the country and with certain types of eucalyptus trees. Not every eucalyptus tree is suitable for koalas.
Right.
So they tend to live in colonies, and in their habitat, sadly, has been decimated a little over time. But there's still plenty of them around. But you typically don't see them. Unlike kangaroos, you see them outside of the cities. You see them quite easily. Um,
Oh, okay.
and so, but koalas are shy little critters. So if you disturb them, you know, they'll bite back. Just like if I woke you up early in the morning, you'd probably you're not happy either. So.
Right. No, I've just seen where like it actually the time they actually start moving around is like when it's mating season. And the videos I've seen is that sometimes they'll walk up to a group of tourists, and the group of tourists will end up doing something, and they'll like really badly maul or scratch or you know, something to.
I mean, I'm not saying that's not true, but I've never seen that happen. You know.
Yeah.
So they tend to want to keep away. All those sort of marsupial type critters are shy. You know, so they're not really keen to be around. So
right, absolutely.
Yeah.
Funnel web spider was another one Travis mentioned.
Yeah, funnel web spider. There are two extremely deadly spiders in Australia. One's the funnel web, probably the most deadly. If you get bitten by that and don't go to a hospital pretty quick, you might as well start writing out your obituary. But people do get bitten by them. But funnel web spiders are also caught and handed into hospitals and sort of nature parks, and they milk the venom from them and make an antivenin from that. So it's pretty rare that someone gets bitten by a funnel web spider and dies, because they get them to a hospital, they give them the antivenin, and they're usually okay. So
antivenin, right?
Yeah, but you can tell a funnel web spider. Most people get bitten by one. You know, they're not aggressive unless they feel under attack. So they're really big.
But will they crawl into your shoes and do things like that?
Well, technically it's possible, but it's unlikely. They typically hide in leafy, grassy areas in the base of trees or that sort of area. Okay. Most of those critters are shy too. They only are a problem if they feel threatened. And the other deadly spider in Australia, there are others that'll hurt you but won't kill you. But the other deadly one is called a redback spider. It's a much smaller spider, and it's got a red line on its back. So you see those two, you just avoid them. And you know, it's typical, like most things. If you were out in the countryside and you should have shoes on, and then there's no problem. But, you know, if you turn over a rock, you just sort of turn over and have a look at it to make sure there's nothing underneath it. But same with a log or anything. But I've heard of people being bitten, but I've never heard any people dying from them. That I know, I mean. There have been people, if that's happened to you, but they're pretty rare.
Right. Koalas are my favorite too, Martha. By the way, I love koalas. Are my favorite animal, by the way. Just wanted to say. Yeah,
they're pretty cute, aren't they?
I love them. They're cool.
And you can go to wildlife parks where they're sort of used to human handling, and they'll hand them to you so you can hold them. So.
Oh, really? Wow.
That's pretty cute. The other thing that we've been having a lot more of in Australia in recent years is shark attacks. So
that's why Paul calls you shark bait.
Yeah, that's right. Because most the sharks are protected species. So, but their numbers have been increasing. But the shark attacks pretty much never occur in designated swimming areas. They typically happen when swimmers or surfboard riders are out in more isolated areas or away from the general surfing or swimming areas.
Right.
But you know, they happen, and but not everyone dies, by the way.
Are we going out to the reef while we're there? Nope, that didn't think so. That didn't get scheduled in.
That's only about 2,000 kilometers north. We could do that one afternoon, maybe. You know. So,
I see. Yes, right.
The Great Barrier Reef is quite the place to go to, but we can take you to see some sharks, though. So I've got some places for you to dip your toe in the water. So don't worry about that.
All right.
And then, of course, we have the crocodiles. The crocodiles mostly inhabit the northern part of the tropical part of northern Australia. And again, they're very, most locals never have a problem with them because there's signs that said don't go swimming here, right? So there are crocodiles, but occasionally, of course, most of the people who get taken by crocodiles are tourists, right? Either who don't read the signs or don't understand the visual message of right? And they go and camp by the river's bank, right? And in the morning they're not there.
Those damn Americans, they just think the sign don't apply.
That's right, that's right. Yeah. but that happens. Sadly, it happens more than I would like. I couldn't think of something worse than being taken by a crocodile. But pretty much what they do is they grab you and drag you in the water and drown you. That's their method of killing you.
And
then
spin you.
Then they have a munch on you and chuck you back up on this riverbank for afternoon supper or something after that. So yeah, but don't worry, we're not going anywhere near crocodiles, so they're a long way north. So, but
awesome. All right,
you'll have fun. You'll be safe. We'll get you.
Let everybody know where.
Land.
Let everybody know kind of what's going on. So we're obviously going to be at the first Night Rider and Drizzen show, which is which day?
Thursday evening, 7:30 p.m. in Sydney.
All right.
At a theatre called the Enmore Theatre, which is in a suburb called Newtown, just on the edge of the city, right like an inner city suburb. It's quite an historic, iconic theatre. It's an old-fashioned theatre. The Rolling Stones have even played there, so that's kind of fun to know.
There you go. Steve Drizzen, lover will love that.
Yeah, I'm sure. Steve's a bit of an old rocker, from what I can tell. So,
yeah, right.
So that's Thursday. So we arrived there Wednesday morning. So Wednesday's sort of recovery, and Thursday we'll be in Sydney doing a few touristy things, and then heading out to the Enmore Theatre on Thursday night to see the show. Then on Friday, we've got a few little surprises for you on Friday. Can't tell you too much, except you'll have a lot of fun in Sydney. Including a visit to the Opera House, by the way. I'll tell you that much. I think I've already mentioned that to you. Not for opera, but something else.
All right.
And then on Saturday, by the way, I saw a tweet from Laura Nyrider today saying it said something like this: we have a spare day in Sydney. Anyone would like to recommend a restaurant, right? So I thought, if we hear something about that, we might gate crash that restaurant, right?
Yeah.
And, or invite them to the local pub.
Unfortunately, I don't think we're going to be in town yet.
Yeah, no, they will be there. And so I can only presume it's the Friday they're referring to, because they'll be there Thursday. And of course, on the Saturday, they have their show in Melbourne, in which we're going to stalk them all the way to Melbourne and watch them a second time around. And I think that Mad Scotsman's already seen them once in Edinburgh or Amsterdam. I forget which one it was.
Amsterdam, and I think he saw somebody in Edinburgh too. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Jerry. Anyway, something like
that's
that.
Right. Dean and
Jerry, I think. Yeah.
And Jerry. Sounds like a comedy show, Dean and Jerry, doesn't it? But
right. Jerry.
But anyway, can you imagine having to put up with Capaldi in the audience 3 times? And three photo shots with him. Mug shots after the show. Poor Laura and Steve. That's just. I think I'll have to get the police around just to keep control of him. So, but anyway, we're going to Melbourne on Saturday morning. Flying down there, it's a hour or so flight down to Melbourne. And we'll do a few Melbourne sporting things. Beautiful city, Melbourne. Actually wins regularly the award for the most livable city in the world. Has done so for the last 10 years, I think.
Cool.
And do a few sporting events down there. It's where they hold the Australian Grand Prix Racing, the Australian Open Tennis Tournament, which is one of the 4 Grand Slams tournaments, and famous for football and cricket and all sorts of things. And so Saturday and Sunday, we'll be going to the show Saturday night in Melbourne, and another, touring around Melbourne on Sunday, heading back to Sydney Sunday night, and Monday morning booting you guys off back to UK and to the USA. So it'll be a bit of a whirlwind trip, but hopefully it'll be packed full of fun.
Yeah, so, should be fun, folks.
And of course, and intermixed in all that will be your exclusive live coverage from Australia via satellite, reporting the Kose Down Under tour. Yeah.
So we'll be doing that. I'll be collecting all kinds of footage on my GoPro while I'm there, folks. It's gonna be I'm gonna come home with a lot of stuff. So I'm gonna be putting together kind of a lot of things of what went down in Australia. So anyways, it's been fun, Mark. It's great to have you on. Great stories about Alan. Great to hear Alan's stories. Thank you for coming on and telling us all those stories. And telling us about Stephen.
Yeah, my pleasure. And to everyone, thank you for your interest. I feel extremely lucky, is the word I would say, to have had the access to the Avery family, to Stephen, especially given that it's difficult to do that, and obviously to Alan and Dolores and the wider family. They've been very generous in their hospitality and their spirit and their love for all the supporters and their belief in their son and both in terms of Stephen and Brendan. And to be able to be part of that is a privilege, and I'm glad I've been able to share some of that with you. Obviously, some things I can't share because they're private, but most things
totally understood.
And I should say that the people that I do mention are aware that I'm speaking to you about that, so I asked their permission. Would that be okay?
I wouldn't want it any other way, my friend.
Yeah. So yeah.
I want everybody to be happy about what was said here. I don't want people to end up having resentments or anything. So absolutely love it. I trust your scruples. So
thank you.
And
also I should finally say to all your Kose heads there, I'll look after him when he's down there. I'll make sure he gets back here, provided he gets there. That's the first thing he's got to do. The only way I can get him home is if he comes there in the first place, right? That's the basic Newton's second law. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So the reaction to get him home is to get him there the first time.
Yeah. So. Well, hey, look, they wanted 3 forms. I have 4. Plus I have 2 documents from family members, my mom's sister and my brother, to attest that these are my names. So, I mean, there's going to be plenty there for them to look at and go, okay, look, this is clearly what's happening. So, anyway, so it should go, I got to say, folks, once again, I got to say I was very impressed with the agents over there at the passport agency. I spoke to 3 different people on Friday, 3 different gentlemen on Friday, and all of them were well-mannered, very helpful. Really, when I was feeling a bit apprehensive, were really kind of putting me at ease and making me feel like it was all within the realm of possibility. They were just really helpful guys, I gotta say. And it was 3 different people. Usually, with a government agency, you talk to 3 different people, you might get one person who's like cool. But hey, dude, you know what? All the 3 people I spoke to were just absolutely glowing reviews from Erekose for the agents over at the passport agency. Just made me feel a lot more at ease after explaining some things to me and being very calm and patient about it and all that. So hey, salute to the agents over there at the passport agency.
That's very good, and let's hope all their good work and their encouragement bears fruit. We'll get you there one way or the other, buddy.
Well, hey, like I said, I got more than what they're asking for now, so we should be.
Yeah, and you got to get a visa yet, of course. So hopefully, it's all very well to get an American passport.
They said, "Well, look, if I don't have it by 3 o'clock, I'm not getting it."
Oh,
that's the end of business. So, and the guy said, "No, we'll get it out." He's like, "Well, we can easily get it out in one day." I go, "Are you sure?" He goes, "Yeah, we can. We totally can. You can walk out of this office with it that day." I go, "Okay." I'm like,
well, here's what I suggest you do. Because when you do an Australian visa application, as you know, it's all online, okay, and it's free. And if everything goes smoothly, they'll issue it electronically very quickly, within hours, right? Sometimes instantaneously. So when you do an application online, you can do and save it as you go along, right? It's not like all in one go. So you can. So I suggest you go along and do everything you can, except for the bits about the passport, and save it in your computer. Or actually, you're saving it online to an account you create in your name when you first start up. Do all that already, so that when you actually do come around to putting the passport details in, all the other stuff, name, address, reason for travel, all that stuff, is already there, right? So you might have to spend another further 3 or 4 minutes to put the passport details in and then push submit. So So I'd suggest you go in online as if you're doing one, because you don't have to complete it straight away. You can save it along the way and complete it once you have the final details.
Okay, so, sounds good.
Little hint from a local, right?
Right on. Well, yeah. Somebody who travels around as much as you do. Hey, look, I'm listening.
Oh, good.
All right, folks.
Okay.
That's going to be it for this one. Good night, Mark.
Yep.
And we're going to go out. We're going to go out listening to Little Stacy, of course.
Woohoo.
Just hang on. That's all you have to do, hang on.
Oh, Mama and Papa Avery, I said this once for you, just letting you know the world can't see what they have put you through. Not that we could ever fathom or try to imagine the depth of your pain. But the case was a sham, the trial was a scam. The DA, he's a legal stain. I said, Mama and Papa Avery, we stand with you, no matter what the state says. Oh, their lies we see through, because the blood, it was a planet, the car was a planet, Sam William Henry 582. The bones, they were planted, the bullet, yeah, planted. The key in the bedroom too. I said, Mama and Papa Avery, we send our love to you, just letting you know we can't see what they did and continue to do. Oh, Mama and Papa Avery, said this once for you, just letting you know the world can see what they have put you through. Wisconsin can be so cold. The scales of justice can erode. If we accept lies big and bold, or we forget we live on Avery Road. We live on Avery Road. Should be easy to see. This could be you, could be me. Shouldn't sit by accepting everything that we are told. I live on Avery Road. I live on Avery Road. Avery Road.
That's all she wrote, folks. Hey, you know the song and dance. If you haven't already, please hit subscribe, especially on this channel, folks. Come back and view some of those videos. Let's get this channel up and running where, you know, I can have it running alongside the other channel. Because if we can get the numbers up here, you know, we can. It gives me more options. So if you guys could, please hit subscribe, like, all those things. We'll see you again tomorrow, folks. I don't know exactly what time you'll see me tomorrow, but you're definitely going to see me tomorrow at some point. And I look forward to that. We'll see you guys.